This is Caitlin, your host of the No Sleep for Dramas podcast, where we get no sleep and survive on coffee to watch just one more episode at night. Hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode for the No Sleep for Dramas. And as you can see from the title, we are doing another Versus Showdown this week. We haven't done like a Versus Showdown episode in a while, and honestly, this one is a long time coming because first off, I've been watching this anime for way too long, but also this live adaptation has been out since last year, and the minute they announced this, I knew I had to watch it, but I wanted to watch the anime first. So this episode probably should have come out earlier in the year, but here we are. So this is, as I said, a Versus Showdown. It is a Yu Yu Hakusho. I cannot talk today. I swear to God. Yu Yu Hakusho Showdown. As I said, this Versus episode has been a long time coming. A little background. Yu Yu Hakusho. God, I'm gonna just be butchering my words all through this. I'm sorry. Yu Yu Hakusho was one of my first animes of all time. Like, this is a 30 plus year old anime, and I watched it when I was a kid. I didn't watch all of it, as I come to realize now that I rewatched it. Yeah, so it's one of my favorites, and it's an old classic one. And the minute they decided or announced that they were going to do a live adaptation remake on Netflix, I knew I had to watch it. And then obviously now that I have the podcast, I was like, well, perfect. Now I have to do a Versus episode on it. And since I hadn't watched this anime in years, it had to be at least 10 years, if not longer, maybe even 20 plus years since I'd seen the anime, I had to rewatch the anime. And rewatching this anime was a nostalgic journey for me because I had forgotten a bunch of what I had actually watched, but then I also realized there were seasons I never saw. So we'll get into that a little bit. If you are new here and you've never heard a podcast episode at all, or just a Versus Showdown episode, well, first off, welcome. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Versus Showdown episodes are not new to the blog or the podcast. I've done a couple of them. If you look back on the podcast episodes, you'll see My Happy Marriage, and then I also did one for Parasite, the K-drama versus the anime, and then My Happy Marriage is anime versus the movie. Obviously, since you're listening to this episode, this is a new episode. Versus Showdown really is like where I take two dramas, two shows. It's not always going to be anime versus a live adaptation. Like, I will eventually take like a C drama versus a K drama if there was a remake, or a movie versus the drama version, so on and so forth. Just right now, there's so many animes and live adaptations I haven't seen. It's just happened to be all animes and drama showdowns. But eventually, they'll just be drama comparisons or whatever. Either way, you'll take two different things. I'll give two mini reviews of both of them, whether it's a movie or a drama or an anime. And then I'll go into the versus portion of the episode. This is where I compare and contrast both of the shows, in this case, the anime and the live adaptation. I'll talk about the differences I saw between the two, as well as things that stood out to me that were similar or the exact same. Now, I am positive I will not name every difference and every similarity. I'm sure you can Google something and like somebody has written every single difference and similarity between any of the Versus Showdown stuff. I just am talking about the ones I caught. So if you happen to watch both the anime and the live adaptation and you see a similarity or difference that I did not name, please comment. Please let me know. I'm sure there are a ton of differences between the Yu Yu Hakusho anime and live adaptation. I'm sure I did not catch them all. I'm almost positive. I think this episode would be 4 hours long if I actually went through everything that was different about this show. So if you want to play along, you can definitely watch this and let me know what you found. FYI, I say this every time. In terms of Versus Showdown episodes, there will be spoilers for both the anime and the live adaptations. So if you do not want to be spoiled on this anime, if you've never seen it, or the live adaptation, if you've seen the anime and never watched live adaptation, whatever, it will give a spoiler warning, but be warned, there will be spoilers once we get past the reviews and stuff. So yeah, so today's gonna be another showdown. I love doing these. I love watching two things and like saying which one I liked better, or like figuring out the differences or similarities. I just love doing it. Maybe it's my analytical mind. I love analyzing things I watch, as you guys know, especially crime stuff. But yeah, so again, I am a sucker for the Yu Yu Hakusho anime. I love it. It's one of my favorites. And little background, I think one of my earliest memories of Yu Yu Hakusho is watching it on Saturday mornings when like an episode would air on like Saturday morning cartoons. I think it was like this and Sailor Moon. I was watching both of them. Like it's so nostalgic. I was probably in middle school, maybe. I don't think it was elementary school. It must have been middle school. But yeah, I definitely remember watching an episode of this on like Cartoon Network or whatever on Saturday mornings. And it probably was out of order. I don't remember like what season I was watching or whatever. I definitely know now that I rewatched this anime, I did not see the last two seasons. Definitely the last season. I don't remember anything from that last season. Maybe I saw a little bit of the third season, but I pretty much didn't. Like what I remember is the first two seasons, like vividly. The last two seasons I either never saw or I did see, and like I don't remember whatsoever. So me rewatching this anime, I got to actually finish the anime and watch the seasons I never watched, which was eye-opening. This is one of my favorites. This is a classic. If you have not seen this and you are a lover of shonen animes, highly recommend this anime. It's a classic. It's kind of one of those animes where like it's kind of like what started it all, you know? It just very nostalgic for me. That being said, the fact that it's nostalgic for me, that probably means that I'm gonna be very biased when it comes to this versus showdown. Like, I'm just gonna say it off the bat. If you liked the live adaptation, I didn't hate it, but if you like the live adaptation, might not want to listen to this episode because I'm very biased when it comes to the anime. I'm just saying that right now. Anyway, so as I said, we're going to move on to the little mini reviews, and then I'm going to go into like my overall thoughts and which one I liked better. So, as I said, when Netflix announced a live adaptation of Yu Yu Hakusho, like I first off could not believe it. I was like, I can't believe they're actually doing this. It was like I was like praying it was good. And I wouldn't say it's bad. I'll get into why. So I just hoped it did the anime justice. So the plan is I basically rewatched the anime and then immediately binged the Netflix live adaptation once I completed my rewatch. And the rewatch took me a while. So I literally binged the J-drama in like one night. All right. So this is my review of the anime. As I already said, it's extremely nostalgic for me, so I gave it a 9 out of 10. But I'm probably very biased with that, and the nostalgia probably kicked in. I mean, as I was watching this, I found myself like saying like, oh my God, I remember that now. Or, oh man, it's this character. I can't believe I forgot about this character, and so on and so forth. Like, I love this anime. And again, if you are a fan of shonen anime and you have not watched this anime, it holds up. In my opinion, it holds up. The animation holds up. The fighting holds up. The story holds up. I will say the only thing that does not hold up are the jokes. Some did not age well whatsoever. If those jokes were said in 2024 in a new anime, man, social media would go ballistic. There are some jokes in this anime because it's 30 plus years old that would not fly right now. And I like did not remember any of these jokes. And so when I watched them, like, oh, that is not cool. Like that is not a good joke. I mean, they were I mean, I remember there was this one joke that was pretty much transphobic. Like it was not good. It was really not good. So if you watch this anime in 2024 and you've never seen this anime, just I'm telling you right now, some of the jokes and some of the one-liners would not fly in 2024. Just saying that right now. But I watched all 4 seasons. Some of the later seasons, as I said, I have never seen, so that was fun. I love the lead. I love his attitude. I loved how he made friends and the growth of his friend group through the 4 seasons. I don't remember when I first watched this, like if I don't remember even like I don't even remember a romance in this anime. So like I think I was too young to realize that there was a romance going on. I still don't really like the romance. Like it was sort of like a secondary story until it wasn't. Like it was very clear that the female love interest liked him, like liked Yusuke. It was very unclear until like the last section that Yusuke liked her at all. Like even so I don't even know what I would thought about the romance when I was younger, but like currently as my 30 something year old self, it didn't really do anything for me. It was kind of just like put in there, I think, as a break from all the fighting that was going on. It could have not been there and would have been perfectly fine. She's still the romantic interest could have still been in the crowd and like cheering him on or whatever. Didn't really need to add that. But I know this couple is like some of people's favorites. So I'm not gonna knock them, but it's just like it didn't really do it for me either way. So it just seemed to come out of nowhere randomly when they needed a break from all the fighting. So if you're going into this drama thinking you're gonna get a romance, I don't know why you would think that, first of all, because the trailers and anything about it doesn't show romance really. At least the ones I've seen, maybe they did a romantic one, but the ones I remember did not show any of the romance. It was just like fighting. If you're looking for a romance anime, this one's not for you, in my opinion. So yeah. That's my little review. Again, it's 9 out of 10. Might be a little nostalgia for me. I don't know, but it's a classic. Like, it's a classic anime. Which is why I was so excited when the live adaptation was announced, because I was like, this could be a cool live adaptation. Okay, so this is my review of the live adaptation Japanese drama. This is a live adaptation Japanese drama on Netflix. It is 5 episodes long. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I will say this. One, I'm very biased for the anime. I will say that right now. My recommendation of if you're going to watch both of these, if you have not seen both of them, I would recommend you watch the Japanese drama first and then go and watch the anime. I think this rating, because I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, I think the rating came because I'm such a fan of the anime and I saw the anime first. So if you go into this drama not knowing the anime and having nothing to base it off of, I think you would like this Japanese drama way more than I did. I didn't hate it. I just had issues with it because I am such a fan of the anime. So if you are going to watch both of this anime as well as Japanese drama, I would recommend you watch the Japanese drama first, kind of like test it out, see if you like it, see if you like the story and the characters or whatever. And if you do, then go and watch the anime. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. So if you've seen the anime already, though, I was a little disappointed in the live adaptation. I think you would too, especially if you were a fan of the anime. It isn't a horrible live adaptation, I will say. I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse. It's just, I don't think it lived up to my expectations. And because I love the anime so much, I probably had too high of expectations. It's okay. So, first off, the Japanese drama moves at lightning speed. Like, it burns through 60 episodes of anime in 5 episodes. It is 5 episodes long. It burns through story. It hits all the major plot points, almost all of them, but it just moves really, really, really fast. So if you are just looking for like an action-packed Japanese drama and don't know any of the story or any of the characters, you will enjoy this. It is nonstop action from start to finish. Like, you will enjoy it. If you know the anime, you will recognize, if you know like the story and the plot points in the anime, you will notice and recognize a lot of the major plot points from the anime in the live adaptation. You will also notice what was changed and what was left out, though. So that's why I'm saying watch the Japanese drama first, and then you can go into the anime and get more context and depth to it. Because as I'll go into similarities and differences, a lot was changed in the live adaptation. I'm just going to say that. But it had really good acting. I thought the people who were playing their characters matched the anime characters very well. And the Japanese drama did the anime characters justice in terms of costumes and powers and like personas and everything. I think they did that very well. It was really short. It was 5 episodes. It needed to be longer, honestly. I think it needed more room to like breathe and it didn't need to be a slow-paced Japanese drama, but it needed room to breathe. And I don't think with 5 episodes, you're not getting that at all. It's literally fight after fight after fight after fight. It's entertaining, but yeah. So that would be my recommendation. If you want to watch these, watch the Japanese drama first, get your feet wet, see if you actually want to watch it. And if you like the story, like the characters, you want more context and more depth, then watch the anime. I would say the Japanese drama is a good introduction to this story, because then you'll go in the anime already kind of knowing the characters and knowing their powers and whatever, so you're not like figuring out everything when you're watching the anime. Granted, the anime is really easy to follow, so I'm not saying the anime is overcomplicated or anything. So if you do want to watch the anime first, if you're going to watch both of these, I recommend the Japanese drama first. So that being said, overall, as you can tell, I like the anime more. I mean, I think I probably would have liked the live adaptation more if I was not familiar with the anime and I like wasn't as in love with the anime as I am. It's one of my favorites. So the live adaptation just changed a lot from the anime story. The Japanese drama wasn't horrible. It just could have been better. It wasn't bad. It was still entertaining. It was still, in my opinion, worth the watch. But it could have been better, especially if they gave it more episodes. If you've seen the anime and or love the anime and you want to watch the live adaptation, just know what to expect. Do not think it's like the best live adaptation ever in the history of mankind. But it's decent. It's okay. Like, it's still entertaining. You just kind of have to turn your brain off, especially if you're trying to like look for certain things from the anime in the live adaptation. I'll get into it, but there is one major thing really missing from the live adaptation that I know are a lot of fan favorites. So yeah, just that's my 2 cents. If you're going to go into this thinking, if you're going to go into the J-drama thinking it's going to be like a play-by-play of the anime, think again. Like, it does hit a lot of the major plot points, but not everything. One major thing is missing, and I'll tell you that in the similarities and differences. So overall, I did like the anime more, probably due to the bias, probably due to nostalgia, but the live adaptation isn't bad. It's still entertaining. It's just, if you like the anime, just take it with a grain of salt. Okay. So that is my review of both the anime and the live adaptation. I had a lot of fun watching the anime over again. I also had fun with the live adaptation. It's just, there were a lot of differences. So now we're going to move into the versus section. So I'm going to go into the similarities first, and then I'm going to dive into the differences between the anime and the Japanese live adaptation. This is your spoiler warning. If you want to watch either the anime or the Japanese drama and don't want to know anything about it, do not continue listening to this, because you will be spoiled up the wazoo. You will hear major plot points beyond this. So this is your spoiler warning. If you want to go and watch these without any knowledge of what goes on, do not listen after this. Spoiler warning. Okay, so we're going to go into the similarities first between the anime and the Japanese drama. First one is the character and the character designs. Whether you watch the anime or the live adaptation first, you will recognize these characters when you watch the one you did not start with. Both have pretty much the same characters. The designs of the characters in the live adaptation are pretty faithful, in my opinion, to the anime. Characters are recognizable. I think the live adaptation did the characters justice in capturing their looks and essence and whatever. It translated well onto the screen. Acting was good, so the actors also did very well in emoting these personalities that you see from the anime onto the live adaptations. While some of the, like, obviously when you're watching the anime, there are characters that are going to be introduced that you don't see in the live adaptation. As I said, the live adaptation only covered the first 2 seasons. So if you watch the entire anime, there's obviously going to be characters that are new. But the major ones that are in the first 2 seasons, you will recognize in either one. I mean, I think they did that very well. Next similarity, the beginning. So the anime and the live adaptation start out the same. The live adaptation may have changed some of the minor details, but the major plot points were hit. So the plot points, the beginning plot points, are overall pretty faithful from the anime to the live adaptation. Yusuke gets hit by a truck in the live adaptation, car in the anime. He saves a kid, he dies. The things that happen at his funeral are the same. His family having to rescue his body from a burning house is the same. Pretty much like the first arc in the anime where Yusuke discovers he's dead and has to like return to the land of the living is intact from the anime to the live adaptation. It's condensed in the live adaptation and really sped up, but it's pretty much there. This means though that like because it's so condensed and sped up, not every detail from the beginning is in the live adaptation, but the beginning is pretty much the same. I mean, they kind of changed a little bit of things, which I'll get into, but the overall story arc and the major plot points are pretty much there. So I would say the beginning is pretty much the same. You can nitpick that. I definitely did because I was like, what the heck is happening? But it's pretty much there. Yeah. Okay, so the next one, I touched on this a little bit. For me, it's the romance. The romance pretty much plays out the same in both the anime and the live adaptation. For me, it's like a secondary storyline. So the overall storyline is like Yusuke dies, becomes the spirit detective, does a bunch of fighting to save the spirit realm and the demon realm and the world and like himself and his friends, whatever. And then you have the romance kind of being a secondary storyline underneath all of that. In both the anime and the live adaptation, in my opinion, it's a secondary storyline. It kind of pops out. In the anime, you'll see like random scenes that kind of hint at things or like looks or whatever. And then the last couple episodes of like season 4 of the anime like really throw the romance in your face. So the live adaptation, again, sort of a secondary storyline. There's like it's implied with one-liners, but it's also built up a little bit more because it becomes a major storyline at the end, but the fights still supersede it, in my opinion. So it takes a little bit more of a front seat in the live adaptation, but not by much. Like, Yusuke goes to Sakyo's compound to save her. So the implied action of that is like he has feelings for her, you know? That never happened in the anime, which I'll go into differences. So the live adaptation has a little bit more of the front, gave like a little bit more of a front seat to the romance, but not a ton. It didn't like all of a sudden turn into a romance J-drama or anything like that. So I would say the romance kind of is on the same level when it comes to both. Like, it's there, it's present, you see it once in a while, but it's not a romance anime or a romance J-drama. It's kind of underneath everything. Okay, so just like the character designs, the next thing I'll go into is the character powers. All the powers you see in the anime from the characters that are in the live adaptation, you will see in the live adaptation. So if you're familiar with those characters like Yusuke or Hiei or whoever, Toguro, whoever, if they're in the live adaptation, you will see their power at some point. Sometimes I kind of wish there was a little more power showing, because there were some really cool scenes in the anime that were not shown in the live adaptation, but you do see the powers. Plus, we're only working with 5 episodes for the live adaptation. So if you are excited to see like Hiei's story, I apologize in advance if I butcher any of these names. I'm trying my best here. We all know I'm horrible with names in general, but like if you are like really excited to see Hiei's dragon power or something, or fire power, or like Yusuke's ray gun or whatever, you will see that in the live adaptation. I wish there was more, but you get satisfaction from seeing them. I'll just say that. So in the anime, we know like, so Yusuke dies, he becomes a spirit detective, he kind of investigates some things. He eventually gets invited to this, what they call the Dark Tournament, which is essentially like season 2 of the anime. And it's him and Hiei and like his friends, like all going to this demon tournament. And they're kind of forced to do this tournament. It's called the Dark Tournament. They kind of were like, well, if you don't win this tournament, you're going to die. They have to do this tournament to basically survive, whether that's themselves or it's like a friend or whatever, because eventually side characters join them and they're in the audience and they're like, well, if you don't win this match, I'm going to go kill one of them. So they're kind of forced into doing this thing. In my opinion, it is my favorite storyline, like story arc in the anime. And I know like a bunch of other people love this story arc. So I was excited to maybe see this in the live adaptation because it's a major story arc in the anime. If you are a watcher of the anime and you want to see this in the anime or in the live adaptation, you will be very disappointed. I'm going to tell you that right now. The Dark Tournament does not exist in the live adaptation. But whoever made the drama did show like the major 4 fights from the Dark Tournament, mainly the final 4 in the live adaptation. They just wrote it differently. So if you're excited to see like Yusuke fight Toguro, I'm probably butchering that. You'll see that in the live adaptation. Or if you are excited to see like Kurama fight the guy with the mask, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, you'll see that in the live adaptation. So they took what the major, like the last 4 final matches in the tournament and just put them in the live adaptation as Yusuke and his friends were going into this compound to save multiple people. So and a lot of these fights are like a play-by-play of what happened in the fight in the anime. So if you wanted, like, for example, Kurama uses plants, and how he kills his opponent is the same way he did in the match in the anime. So if you are looking forward to seeing those fights, you will see those fights with some minor changes, which I'll get into, but you won't see the whole setup of the Dark Tournament, but mostly the same matchups you'll see. So that was a similarity, just because they were the same matchup and pretty much a play-by-play of the fights. Next similarity, major story points. The anime is 112 episodes in total. Live adaptation adapted the first 60-something episodes. It's condensed, it's rushed, it deleted some of the major plots of the anime. As I said, the entire Dark Tournament does not exist in the live adaptation. It also changed some things instead of eliminating them altogether, but if you've seen the anime, you will recognize a bunch of the major plot points and fights from the first 60 or so episodes of the anime in the live adaptation. So if you watch the anime and you want to see a particular fight, you more than likely will see that fight in the live adaptation. You'll recognize a bunch of the major plot points, especially the action and the fight scenes. You can follow the story easily because you'll recognize a bunch of it. It's not a scene-by-scene adaptation, and things have been completely removed or sped up to fit in the 5 episodes, but a lot of the major plot points and story points are there. So that's a similarity. Another similarity, both are quite violent and somewhat gory. I mean, this is a shonen. You have lots of fighting. The entire story is about a high schooler who dies and then has to fight demons to both protect himself, his friends, and eventually the world. Like, it's going to be violent and somewhat gory. There's a lot of fighting. Like, there's multiple tournaments in this anime. There's a bunch of, like, spirit detective people or humans fighting demons. Like, it's going to be violent. And they're both, and the live adaptation is the same thing. Like, it's violent. I will say, the anime's animation for being over 30 years old, not bad. Like, it holds up, in my opinion. It is not, obviously there's a difference when it comes to the newer anime, but in my opinion, it's not that bad. I will say also, it being 30 plus years old, it's not as violent and gory as like an anime from today. I will tell you that right now, but it's still pretty violent. The live adaptation is kind of the same thing. Like, you'll see stuff. I would say it's violent, but probably not as violent as some other J dramas we've seen, or even gory. Like the gory, especially. The gory is like, if you can't handle a little blood, then that would deem gory. Like, it's not horribly gory or anything, but just saying, both are violent, both can be a little gory, but not anything excessive, in my opinion. As I said, the fight scenes and action, if you love action and fight scenes, you will love these. I mean, the live adaptation, as I said, is a action-filled speed train to the end, no rest type of live adaptation. Like, you will have fight after fight after fight after fight among various characters. Anime, I mean, as I said, the anime, even though it's 30 years old, the animation, the fight scenes hold up. It's very exciting to rewatch or watch for the first time. Choreography for the fight choreography in the live adaptation is great. The CGI I thought was pretty good. Like, some parts didn't really work out to like what I pictured in my mind, but overall they did a pretty good job. Animation, of course, the fights and the animated powers or whatever look good to me. So fight scenes and action, if you love those, if you are looking for something to watch with those, definitely give these a try. Okay, so side characters, the similarities. In both the anime and the live adaptation, there are characters that, in my opinion, are kind of designated to the sidelines that could have been used more. Like, in the anime, I always thought that Kuwabara's sister, Shizuru, could have been used more. It's like very clear she has kind of like the same powers as her brother, in terms of like, he can sense things, she can sense things, and I think better than he can. And she can also fight pretty well, is like a strong female character. I wish the anime had used her more, but she kind of is sidelined to look cool and have these one-liners and just be an audience member, especially during a dark tournament. So I wish she was fleshed out in the anime a little more. And then the live adaptation, the fact that because it's only 5 episodes, a lot of the side characters were not fleshed out like they were in the anime. So both the anime and the live adaptation had characters I wish had got more backstory or was explained more on. Anime, I think, just pushed Shizuru to the side, whereas the live adaptation only had limited time. Like, it was, they kind of had to pick and choose who they were going to explain and whatever. So it makes sense, you know? So those are some similarities I saw. And now we're going to get into the differences. This is going to be a long list of differences. I'm going to say that right now. And there's definitely ones on here that I didn't put on here. Like, there's so many differences between the anime and the live adaptation. Like, it's still recognizable. It's not like it's not like they like took the name and then just went wild. Like, as I said, in the similarities, a lot of the major plot points were hits. It's not like it's a completely different show, but there were still a lot of differences. All right, so the first one and the major one is plot points were altered or deleted. The live adaptation is only 5 episodes long. Why is it 5 episodes? I don't know. So there's only so much you can fit in the 5 episodes, especially when you're adapting a 112 episode anime. The live adaptation condenses entire story arcs into episodes or even like half of an episode. and they also eliminated major plot points altogether. So I'm not going to list every single change, but here are some that I noticed and didn't have to Google to figure out. Like, try not to, when I do these, I know there are articles out there, especially if you're comparing an anime to a live adaptation. I know there are articles out there where you can go and like look at every single difference something has between the two. I really try not to do that. I want to be as authentic of these as possible, so I try to catch them, and the ones that I catch go into the podcast episode. So these are the ones I caught that I did not Google about. I did go after I like wrote this or whatever. I did go and like Google and see what I missed, and I missed quite a lot, honestly. So a big one I think everybody noticed is the live adaptation completely eliminated the dark tournament altogether. So the anime has this dark tournament. It's a fight in the demon realm where Yusuke and his friends are forced to join and then win, as I explained. As I explained above, we got the 4 major fights that occurred in the dark tournament, but it wasn't in the structure of a tournament. The main characters are just trying to like save their friends in this compound, and they fight the 4 major fights to get past the bad guys and get their friends. So I'm just, again, if you're a lover of the anime and you love the dark tournament, if that's your favorite storyline, I'm just saying, like, go in the live adaptation, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. So another major plot point that was eliminated due to the limited episodes is Genkai had a tournament herself to find her a successor before the dark tournament. So like in season 1 or so, that also is not in the live adaptation. So Yusuke and Kuwabara kind of just become her students without winning this tournament at all. So also Yusuke's training happens weeks in like the live adaptation, where in the anime it took longer. I think it was like a month, maybe 2 months. So that's another sort of major change I saw. Some minor changes, like the driver that hit Yusuke in the beginning, he got possessed by a mecha insect, which the mecha insect is in the anime, but it's like season 3, I think. It's like it, or maybe it's season 2, but they never came to Earth. Like, they never came to the human realm. So that the live adaptation made that a little different. The driver was never possessed in the anime by this insect. It just was an insect, or it was just an accident. It had nothing to do with the supernatural in the anime. It was just an accident. This car just was driving and almost hit somebody. In the live adaptation, they made it supernatural, which it was not. So also in the live adaptation, there was a hole connecting the human and demon realm. The anime had this, but it was not in the context of the story that the live adaptation had. So it's like a whole different storyline in the anime. Whereas in the live adaptation, they kind of roped it into 2 storylines in a way. Because, like, in the anime, it existed, but the whole storyline where Yusuke had to go and defeat Toguro in order for Koenma to, like, close this hole did not exist in the anime. They just wrote that for the live adaptation. So it just plays out really differently in the anime with different people and different characters that didn't even show up in the live adaptation, and it's completely different season. So again, that's like a couple things, minor things I kind of noticed. I could go on and on about these differences and minor differences and things, but I'll talk about more of the differences later, but like there were a lot of differences in the live adaptation when compared to the anime, especially if you're looking for them like I was. Okay, so another major difference is the ending. Due to the live adaptation condensing things and like eliminating plot points, the endings of the anime and the live adaptation are drastically different. The biggest difference is the anime had 60 plus more episodes that they could adapt and the live adaptation could use. Taking that out of the equation, though, even if the anime only had 60 episodes to adapt and didn't have those other 2 seasons, the live adaptation still changed enough that the endings were quite different. As I said, the Dark Tournament did not exist in the live adaptation, which changed the ending. The whole ending of the live adaptation where Sakyo completed the portal between the human world and the demon world and is stopped by Koenma does not happen in the anime at all. If we were just talking about the first 60 plus episodes of the anime, the Dark Tournament happens and then Yusuke goes back to the human realm. That's literally it. Like, there's no saving the world at that point in the anime. I mean, I guess in a way, him winning the Dark Tournament was like saving the world in a way, but like not really. So the saving the world comes about later on in the anime, like in the seasons they didn't adapt at all. So the ending is drastically different between the two. Another difference, one of my favorite parts of the anime is in the first season when Yusuke is a spirit detective, and the live adaptation really has no spirit detective action in it. So there's a couple episodes in season 1, multiple episodes actually, where Yusuke like goes around and kind of does a little like detective work to figure out demons that are escaping into the human realm. And the live adaptation doesn't really show that, or doesn't even like, they say it in the words they're saying, like, you're a spirit detective now, but they don't really show any of it. If they do show it, it's condensed to like 20-minute segment in an episode, or maybe half an episode. Again, the live adaptation only had 5 episodes, so that is why they condensed it. But for me, it's one of my favorite parts of the anime, and we didn't get to see it at all. Another major difference in the anime, Koenma is his usual form is a baby. When he has to go mingle among the humans or demons, he grows into an adult. In the anime, this leads to like some funny moments, and then also explains why he's walking around with a pacifier in his mouth, whether he's in the baby or an adult form. And then also that pacifier is explained in later seasons of the anime of why he has it at all. In the live adaptation, he's just an adult the entire time walking around with a pacifier in his mouth, which would seem weird to people who have no idea what's going on with that character. So, and there's really no explanation. Like, there's just a guy walking around with a pacifier in his mouth. He's a very minor character in the live adaptation, in my opinion. In the anime, he has a lot bigger role, which I prefer. But I don't want to spoil like the entire storyline of Kanma, but there's a reason why he has that pacifier in his mouth. He's not just like, it's not because he's just a baby. There's a reason why he has, it's a magical reasoning on that he carries that thing around. So I'm sure it seemed weird to people who had never seen the anime and watched this and is like, why is this grown ass man just walking around with a pacifier in his mouth? To their credit though, the live adaptation adapted this character very well, in my opinion. So just saying. Another difference, the Japanese drama, as I said multiple times, is very rushed. It's 5 episodes, so the creators had to condense a lot of the storyline or even eliminate it. And what is kept in the Japanese drama is very rushed. It's rushed to the audience, at least. It just jumped from one action scene to the next with little or no rest. It makes it exciting the entire time. Even if you had not watched the anime and you watch the live adaptation, you will notice it's rushed. Like, it's just bang, 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 bang all the way through. So anime, obviously, it's longer. It's more of a slow burn. You get to know the characters. You get a little more background, that type of thing. There's room to breathe and to move around in the anime. Live adaptation, not so much. Another difference, the main villain. In the live adaptation, Sakyo is painted as this main villain. I also will say I did not like his hair in the live adaptation. I thought his character design did match the anime. I just thought he looked better in the anime, in my opinion. His hair just was not working for me in the live adaptation. I don't know what it was though. I think because it looked curly, and if I remember the anime, it was straight. I don't know. He didn't translate in the live adaptation as I thought he would, in my opinion. It wasn't bad. It's just, I was like, really? That's who you chose to play that guy? Okay. So in the live adaptation, Sakyo is painted as the main villain. while I do think he was a villain in the anime, I don't think he was the main villain, especially during the Dark Tournament. He was the creator of the Dark Tournament. Like, he did have somewhat of a villain role in the anime, but Toguro has a much larger part in the anime with lots more emotion and backstory behind him. And in the live adaptation, he's kind of relegated to a lackey, which is not really true at all. And also, since the live adaptation straight up like deletes complete storylines like the Dark Tournament, it deleted other villains altogether. There are multiple worse villains than Sakyo in the anime from various seasons, even in the seasons that they skipped in the live adaptation that were like parts of season 1 and 2 that they didn't even go into. So I would not say Sakyo is the main villain from the anime. He was a villain, but not a main villain, whereas the live adaptation really gave him the villain role. So I wouldn't believe that, really. As I said, the anime has more episodes to do this. In my opinion, anime has way more emotion. Anime was more drawn out, as I said, was a slow burn. It allowed more story to be written, more background and context to be given to these characters. You get to see the relationships grow into these friends and allies, where the live adaptation kind of just like, okay, we have to be allies at this point because I need your help. Like, it's not, there's no bonds being formed in the live adaptation. And then because those bonds were formed, the emotion went along with that. And you believed the emotion when you saw it in the anime. In the live adaptation, you A, didn't really see much emotion, and B, if the thing you did see wasn't really believable because there was no impact to that emotion. Anime had a lot more emotion to it because it had a lot more bigger breathing room and allowed that to manifest and grow within itself before having the impactful emotional scenes you needed. On that same note, another difference is the anime allowed for more attachment to the characters. Like, I think the emotion came out in the anime because the anime allowed us as audience members to connect to these characters longer and more, because when things happened to the characters, we actually cared about them. So this allowed for the audience members to be more affected by, I don't know, character death or being severely hurt in the anime than it did in the live adaptation. Just like, for example, and again, this is a major spoiler, just FYI. So in the live adaptation, we saw Genkai die. That happens in the anime, but it's such a different storyline and happens way differently. Like, in the anime, because the Dark Tournament exists, she actually fights with them through this tournament. And then before the final fight between Yusuke and Toguro kills her. And Yusuke like finds her and they have this like really beautiful conversation and all this stuff. In the live adaptation, it kind of happens off screen. Like, it kind of just was like, he goes and kills her at her house. Like, it didn't have the same emotional impact. Even in the live adaptation, like, they didn't find out until the final fight, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, I killed her. And they're like, it had a more of emotional impact when it came to Kuwabara than it did on Yusuke in the live adaptation, in my opinion. Just, it just didn't work in the live adaptation. Obviously, they had to do it. Like, it was a major plot point in the anime. So, of course, they were going to keep that in. Live adaptation, just like, it didn't do it right because it just was very rushed. And you didn't even see the fight. Like, in an anime, you see a lot more of the fight, but and there was a lot more banter between the two while they were fighting. It didn't work. It didn't work in the live adaptation. Another difference is Yusuke is older in the live adaptation. In the anime, Yusuke is like 14 the entire time until the very end. In the live adaptation, he's like 17 or 18. So they aged him up for live adaptation, which I liked, honestly. The anime, first off, in my opinion, he does not look 14 in the anime. And then you're to believe that he dies at 14 and becomes this kick-ass fighter at the age of 14. I always saw him a little older, but yeah, in the anime he's supposed to be 14. In the live adaptation he's like 17 or 18. I've said this multiple times. Another difference is the live adaptation is only half the anime. 2 seasons of the anime is not even in the live adaptation. It gives a lot of context to the story, especially Yusuke. So there's a ton of story that is not told whatsoever. I doubt this live adaptation is going to get a second season, especially like how it's built and how it's like how the structure of the story happened. They eliminated the entire Dark Tournament. So if you get a season 2, are they going to do the Dark Tournament, or are they kind of just going to pass over that and go straight to season 3, which is like, okay. I don't like, even if they did a season 2 and they wanted to do the Dark Tournament, they lost all that build up to that. They would have to like redo it basically. I don't see how they would do a season 2. And it was pretty clear they were only going to do a one and done, especially if you've watched this live adaptation. Could have been more episodes. Even if they did 10 episodes, though, I don't think they would have been able to adapt all 4 seasons in one season. I think it's a one and done, but yeah, just know they didn't cover half of the anime in the live adaptation at all. I've said this multiple times. The big difference is Dark Tournament is nowhere in sight in the live adaptation. I mean, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. It is nowhere in sight in the live adaptation. So if you're a fan of the anime and you expect to see the Dark Tournament in this live adaptation, you are going to be very disappointed. There's no teams fighting it out in preliminaries and semifinals. As I said, Genkai is not even on the island. In the anime, she participates in the fight and the tournament. As I said, she's killed much later in the tournament too. In the live adaptation, she's killed even before the tournament starts, even if there is no tournament. Like, she's killed during, like, before the quote-unquote supposed tournament starts, like before they even get on the island. It's very early. You do get the same 4 main fights that you got from the final fights in the tournament, but those were changed. Like, for example, in the tournament, or in the anime, Yusuke is fighting Toguro alone. Like, no one helped him. In the live adaptation, all 4 of the other people, Kurama, Hiei, and Kuwabara, all help him in this fight. Even that's a little changed a little bit. Or like the 2 girls, I'm not gonna remember her name. Yusuke's love interest. I can't remember her name. Yukina is Hiei's sister. Like, Botan isn't even there. Like, she's up in the heavens somewhere. Keiko, that's the name. So in the live adaptation, Keiko and Yukina are like taken to this compound. They kind of just combine like multiple things. Like, it's basically a rescue of Yukina that they used as a plot point for the final showdown in the live adaptation, which the rescue of Yukina happens in the anime, but it's not a final showdown, and it's really just Kurama or not Kurama. Is it Kurama? Does Kurama help him? Yusuke definitely helps him. I can't remember if Kurama's also there. Anyway, it's not a final showdown. It's Hiei and Yusuke go and rescue his sister. Maybe Kurama's there too. But like, it's not like it's not a final boss fight. So then you have, in the live adaptation, Yusuke fights Toguro, and then Kurama is fighting his mask guy, I don't remember his name, who has the invisible explosive balls, and then like that he throws at him. And then you have Hiei, and he fights his like the guy with all the armor. And you'll get these fights. And then Karasu is the guy with the mask. So you have Karasu and you have Kurama. They fight in the live adaptation in a room. Then you have Bui and Hiei fighting in a room together. And then those are the major fights from the tournament in the anime. And then you have Kuwabara fights the older brother, the older Toguro brother, which I don't remember his first name. Anyway, he fights him. But in the live adaptation, he has the 2, Yukina and Keiko, with him, and is like, they're fighting together. Like, Keiko and Yukina help him in this fight. In the anime, he's fighting them in a tournament, and it's him and the older brother Toguro in this tournament. Like, the girls are in a stand up in the stadium seating of a tournament. Like, they're not around helping, you know? And then when everybody comes together in the live adaptation and Yusuke is fighting Toguro in the final battle, Hiei and Kurama and Kuwabara join him to help. And then you have the two girls like watching them in a corner of a room, like not in the stadium seating. And then Koenma is there too, but like in the anime, he's like watching in the stadium again. He's not with Sakyo in a room. So like the whole setup of the live adaptation is completely different than what the Dark Tournament final boss battle was. It's completely different. But you do get these 4 major fights you see, this kind of blow by blow. Like you have like in Kurama's fight with Karasu, like he still plants the seed in Karasu's body and like kills him the way he did in the anime. The older brother Toguro pretty much dies the same way that he did in the anime with his brother killing him. Like it's a play-by-play fight, but the location and the setup isn't the same. So the anime lover, you will still get to see those 4 fights done pretty well with CGI in general. Even when the Yusuke and Toguro fights, there was a scene where Yusuke like blasts Toguro out of the stadium, like really far out of the stadium, and then he like walks back and like flaming, like with fire behind him. In the live adaptation, Yusuke pushes him out of the room they're in, and he does walk back, but it's not as cool as the stadium fight. So yeah, Dark Tournament isn't there. It's not the same setup. It's the same fights pretty much with small changes, so you get that satisfaction, but there's no Dark Tournament, and you don't get the semifinals or the finals or the prelim fights at all. Like you don't get any of those characters either. Like it's just the main 4. So that's a major difference between the anime and the live adaptation. As I just said, the side characters, due to the Dark Tournament not happening, a lot of the side characters you got in the Dark Tournament are not present at all. Which, like, now it kind of makes sense on why they didn't do season 3 or season 4, because a lot of the side characters and, like, people they fight in the prelims and the semifinals of the Dark Tournament show up in other seasons and, like, help them out and are allies, so they didn't, obviously, if they weren't planning to do the other seasons, they didn't want to introduce all of them or whatever, but yeah, so you don't see a bunch of the side characters from the tournament in this either. So yeah, those are some of the major differences I saw. In my opinion, I would say watch the live adaptation first. Like, if you've not seen the anime or the live adaptation, watch the live adaptation first. See if you like it, see if you enjoy it, see if you want to know more after learning about these characters and the story. Like, test it out, really, basically. And then if you do like it, dive into the anime afterwards, where you get more depth and more context, and you have 2 extra seasons to watch everything. So yeah, that's pretty much the similarities and difference I saw in this showdown. Overall, I'm really glad I did rewatch this anime and did watch the live adaptation. Like, I definitely went down nostalgia lane, and I was happy I did it too. So I've definitely seen worse live adaptations of anime, so I'm not mad at the Yu Yu Hakusho anime. It just could have been better. And I advise you to watch the J-drama before the anime, and don't go in with expectations. Like, just enjoy it for what it is. It's basically an action sequence from beginning to end. Yu Yu Hakusho will always be one of my favorite animes. So the live adaptation had big shoes to fill, and it didn't, and I knew it wouldn't. I knew going into it, it would not be the anime for me. It would have had to been a fantastic live adaptation. And with 5 episodes, I knew, like, okay, that it's not going to be that. So that being said, though, on its own, it's still pretty entertaining. So that's my advice. Just watch the live adaptation first, and then watch the anime if you're going to watch both of these, or just watch the live adaptation. But I would advise, just because I'm a lover of the anime, you should watch the anime too. To each their own. But that is the showdown between Yu Yu Hakusho anime and the live adaptation. We did a great Versus episode here. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like these. I love doing these. I love watching 2 different things and compare and contrasting them, and then saying which one I liked more. over the other. I hope to do more of these, whether that's anime versus live adaptions or just J-drama versus K-drama, so on and so forth, or maybe like movie versus drama, whatever. So let me know if you want me to watch any of these and compare and contrast something. I have some ideas next year that I really want to do. But yeah, that's another Showdown episode for you. If you do go and watch Yu Yu Hakusho, live adaptation or anime, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think. DM me if you like. But that's it for now. Thanks. If you want to continue the conversations about dramas that were started in this episode, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter under the username No Sleep for Dramas. That is No Sleep, the number 4 dramas, just like in the title of the podcast. This podcast is also an expansion of my blog, so you can visit my blog at www.nosleep4dramas.com, the number 4 dramas.com, and find multiple years of blog posts already available at your fingertips. All links are in the description of this episode. This has been an episode of the No Sleep for Dramas podcast, and I am your host, Caitlin. I will see you here next time, and I hope you get no sleep chasing the next episode just like me. Good night.